Hello, everyone, and welcome to the El Paso Premier League. My name is Cesar Sosa, and I am the director for the El Paso Premier League. So I just wanted to welcome you in today to this new coach orientation and kind of walk you through a little bit of what we are going to be looking over today. We're going to be looking over what EPPL is, how we're structured, what we offer, as well as some important policies and procedures that are all kind of tailored to make sure you have a positive and successful experience here at the El Paso Premier League. So it is quite a bit of information, but ultimately our goal is to create a information dense presentation here for you all that you can come back later on in your EPPL careers and get a little refresher on certain things um, and anything that you need to get a refresher on. So without further ado, we can go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so like I said, this is our new coach orientation, and let's get into it. So one of the main things and most important things about how we function as a league is through our communication processes, right? So we try to keep everything streamlined and organized rather than having information kind of all over the place. So that's really broken down into three main emails. Now, email will be your main point of contact and the most effective one. This is the one that all of our staff members check. This is one where you can get the most help rather than just trying to rely on a single person or a single phone number. Everything sent through these emails gets the full kind of effect or the full help of the EPPL staff. So to kick this off, we have our general email, right? This is our general information email. This is for any questions in regards to structure, competition, formats, parents who have questions. This is the email that you would give them. This is the email that's kind of on our website. So it's very general, right? It's the general information one. Next, we have our registrar email. Now, this email is directly linked to our registrar department, right? So all of our registrars are on this email. This is where you will be sending all of your roster changes, roster needs, things to do with ID cards, club pass, all the things to do with the registration process must be sent to the registrar email. Right. On the other hand, anything to do with the schedules must be sent to schedules@eppremierleague.com. Right. So that one is linked to our schedule staff, and anything to do with schedule issues, schedule requests, conflicts, really anything to do with the schedule must be sent to schedules@eppremierleague.com. Those are our three main points of contact. Additionally, we do have on-site phone numbers for each of our complexes. So we do have a phone number for the West Side Sports Complex and a number for the East Side Sports Complex. Now, these are for coaches only, and it's whenever an issue arises during the game that you feel needs assistance from a staff member, you can go ahead and give us a call or maybe a text message to that phone number, and someone from our staff will be there to help as soon as possible. All right. So those are the key points of contact. So in addition, we do have our office here on the west side, and those are our office hours. We're there from Tuesdays to Thursdays from 12 to 6. If you ever need to swing by, if you need help with anything, if you want to chat with one of us, I do always suggest sending us an email ahead of time, just letting us know you're coming, especially if you want to come to pick up a roster, coming to pick up an IDs, or if you want to come talk to any one of us face to face. It's always a good idea to just send us a quick email saying, hey, can I talk to someone, or can you guys have this ready for me to pick up? That way we can just be more effective and make sure that your stuff is ready for pickup, or that there is someone there that can talk to you and help you with whatever you need. Moreover, we do have a mass text messaging system. Now, this is really just used in essence for whenever we have to make important time-sensitive announcements, right? Like reminders of important dates or deadlines, or for example, in recent years or recent seasons, we've seen a lot of like wind advisory or wind cancellations, right? So anything like that, anything important. So I do strongly suggest all coaches to text EPPL coach to that phone number right there, and then it'll automatically add you. And again, we just use it mainly for time-sensitive, important announcements rather than just general information. So another thing that we've been working on recently, and we recently revamped our entire its entire look is the EPPL website. So we really wanted to create kind of an official hub of information for yourselves as coaches, for managers, for parents, for players, for referees, for everyone, right? A place where you can come in and find the information that you're looking for. Everything to do with the EPPL will be on our website. So I wanted to kind of jump in there and show you guys a little bit about what the website looks like. That way you guys know what it is and maybe walk you through a little bit. But in essence, here we go. This is our homepage. So our website is eppremierleague.com. Once you search for that, you'll be brought to our homepage here, where you can see immediately you have some important links like the team registration, player registration, or National One links. We have some quick links to some other important information or pages, some information about our current season, as well as some other cool things here on our homepage. Moreover, we do have our league information tab. Now this breaks down all that is the EPPL in terms of our structure, our competitive divisions, as well as some other key information. So again, really, really important page that I suggest all of our coaches, but especially new ones, to come in and read. Now we will be breaking down this information in this presentation, but again, just something you can come back to. We do have our current season tab, right, where we can have information about our current season. We have our page for the current season calendar, which kind of shows you a breakdown of when we're playing, when we're not, as well as some important key dates for the current season. We also have a link to our schedule page where you'll be able to access the schedule, the maps, as well as, for example, the top goal scorers for our Premier Divisions and N1 divisions. We also have our registration tab with direct registrations to all of our different programs. But most importantly, we have our resources page, right? So we do have our coach resources page, which is very, very important for you all, and we'll dive into it in a little bit. We have our coach education page where you can look up where you can see if you have any upcoming licenses or courses for coaches. We also have our discipline and safeguarding page, which we'll get into later on. We have an important page for parents, which I suggest you all send to your parents so that they're well aware of kind of their role and what we expect from parents within their participation with EPPL, as well as some other important pages. Now, your coaches page is literally going to be, or will be, the most important page for you all. This has all the information you need to be a coach, and you don't have to read all of it every single time. As a new coach, I suggest you do, but you can always just come here and jump to important sections such as requirements, current season information, schedule requests, discipline, general information, helpful links and articles. You can just jump to it. It is packed with information, and we will come in as we go through this presentation, because we will reference this page over and over again. So just again, this is where you find it. This is the coaches resources page. And again, this is the website, right? This is our EPPL website. It has everything, all the information that you need in order to be successful here at the EPPL. So coming back over to our point, I also always like to kind of come back and talk a little bit about our mission, right? So our mission has evolved a little bit over the years, but essentially the core mission has never changed, which is development, right? So we are a development first league. And in its most current iteration, our mission is really to provide a structured and competitive soccer environment that creates a clear development pathway for players, right? That is the key. That is the goal. We want to be able to create an environment and a structure that a player can take from when they're 5 or 6 years old, barely learning to play the game, all the way up to competitive, to like an elite competition like National One, right? That is the pathway we're trying to create here for players, and for you as coaches to be able to guide these players through this development pathway. But in its essence, at the end of the day, this is a development first league. All right, so what is that pathway, right? What is that structure? So essentially what we want to do is break down what we offer in terms of structure, and then afterwards what we offer in terms of competitive divisions within that structure, right? So essentially the whole organization of the El Paso Premier League is broken down into 4 leagues, right? We have our EPPL East League, our EPPL West League, which is our base, right? It's the foundation of this organization, which then grows into what we call the EPPL, right? Or maybe like our city league EPPL, which then grows into the National One League, which is our division of a national competition, right? But let's get into it a little bit further. and see what each division actually, or what each league actually is, right? So in our EPPL East and West, the EPPL East and West are developmental and recreational leagues designed for younger players and teams beginning their soccer journey. These leagues provide a positive and structured environment focused on learning, growth, and enjoyment of the game. In essence, right, or at its roots, the East and West divisions are two independent leagues that function simultaneously and don't combine, right? So it's for our younger developmental recreational teams that want to get started in soccer and want to stay or remain in their area of the city. So EPPL West plays all, if not most, of their games at the Westside Sports Complex. EPPL East plays all, if not most, of their games at the Eastside Sports Complex, right? So now these two leagues are offered from U5 all the way up through U12, okay? So then, again, that's our base. Moving up to the next level, we have the El Paso Premier League, or our City League, right? Which is designed for competitive teams that are continuing to develop and are ready to compete against opponents from across the city, right? This league provides a higher level of competition while maintaining a strong focus on player growth and development. So this league starts at U1099, right? But it's for U1099 most competitive teams, or our premier divisions, right? We'll get into that in a second. But U1099, U1199, and U1299, it's only that top division that competes in this citywide league. From U13 onward, or in other words, all of our 11v11 leagues or formats, divisions, I should say, they all compete in this. Essentially means you're now competing against teams from across the city, right? East, west, northeast, central, all over the place, and you're competing at our two main venues, which is the Westside Sports Complex and the Eastside Sports Complex. But essentially, it's now a little bit more competitive. You're playing against teams from across the city rather than just isolated to your area, which again promotes development and competition. Okay, so from there we kind of go to the top of our competitive development, or our development pathway, which is our National One League. Now, we were really fortunate to be named as the operator for the N1 League here in our area of the country, and it's something that we're very, very excited for, as kind of like the top, right, the top of our pyramid, and something that we can again offer for our players. Now, just a little bit of a breakdown. The National One League is a league run by U.S. Club Soccer and USYS under the guidance of the federation, right? And basically what the league is a national competition that broke up the country into 8 different regions, each region into different districts. The district that we were named operators for is the West Texas, New Mexico region. So essentially teams that participate in the N1 through El Paso Premier League will compete here kind of in a localized area of the country, right? In essence, West Texas and New Mexico, and then play into a national championship against the rest of the teams from N1 and the other leagues. So again, a lot more information on N1 on our website if you ever want to kind of click on that page. But in essence, that is the top, right? That is the N1 is the top level team-based league in the country. So we're just incredibly honored and excited to have this be the top of our pyramid. And again, part of that pathway that we can offer to all the players here at the El Paso Premier League. So that's kind of our structure, right? Those are the 4 leagues that make up the El Paso Premier League. But within each of those different leagues, there's different competitive divisions, right? So you as a coach will choose, in essence, where will I play? Do I want to play EPPL East, EPPL West, the EPPL? Do I want to play N1? So that's step 1, right? But then within each one of those leagues, we do offer different competitive levels, right? Because everyone's on a different developmental pathway or developmental journey. So we want to make sure we're offering divisions tailored to everyone based on where they are, okay? So this is, again, another little image. This and that pyramid image are both on the website under the league info tab. So you can always kind of go back there and take a closer look at them. But in essence, this is a breakdown at our competitive divisions. So as you can see, it starts with recreational and it works its way up to N1 or Premier, right? So we do have 4 competitive divisions, Rec, Challenge, Championship, and then Premier N1. But let's dive in and see exactly what each one of them is. Okay, so kind of starting at the entry level of our competitive divisions is our recreational division. Okay, now this is our intro to soccer division, right? This is for entry level teams that are focused on having fun, learning, really kind of starting to fall in love with the game without the pressure of a competitive environment and playoffs and all this stuff, right? So in its essence, it's again, intro to soccer, right? There's a 9-game guarantee. You come to the league, you play your 9 games. There is no standings or scores kept, right? At the end of the season, all the players receive a participation medal. And again, that focus is throughout the season on learning to play the game. It's your introduction to the game. Now, this is available at EPPL East and EPPL West, and only in 4v4 and 7v7 divisions. All right, so this is our entry level or our intro to soccer. But then we move into our next one. Now, this is a brand new division that we kind of just brought out, which is our challenge division, right? So challenge is the intro to competition, right? If rec was our intro to soccer, this is our intro to competition. This is for teams that maybe feel ready to move away from rec, but are not ready for the competitive environment of one of our more competitive divisions, right? So we wanted to create that area in between rec and for say a championship or a premier for a team that wants to compete a little bit more, but doesn't really want to get involved in kind of like the playoffs and how intense or tense that competitive environment can be, right? So maybe they're not ready for that just yet. So again, this is our intro to competition. Now, what do we mean by that? We mean it's structured in the same way as rec in that you play your 9 games only, right? But now every game matters. Now there's some level of competition. Why? Because now scores and standings are kept. Okay, so there is no playoffs, and at the end of the year, the final standings dictate the season's awards. Okay, kind of like kind of like a European league where everyone plays everyone, and then at the end, the final standings dictate who wins. Okay, so similar to that. So it's a little bit more competitive than rec, but still not full competition with playoffs and all that stuff. Okay, so there will be awards, in like or as we usually do in EPPL, there's a trophy and medals for first and second, as well as medals for third. And this division is available at the EPPL, so all the way through, and EPPL East and West. So basically all formats, right? 4v4, 7v7, 9v9, and 11v11. They'll all have this division available to them. But let's just say now, okay, I've competed in rec, I've competed in challenge, I've gotten a taste of competition, I'm ready for a little bit more, okay? So then we jump into our championship division. Now, our championship division has been around from the beginning of EPPL. And so basically, it's our competitive development division, right? It's more competitive, right? We're still focused on development, but it just has that little bit extra touch of competition. And really, it's the pathway into N1 or the premier divisions, okay? So essentially, it's your traditional league, right? It's going to have your regular season followed by playoffs, with again trophies and medals for first and second, and medals for third. Okay. Now this is available again at the EPPL and EPPL East and West. Okay. In terms of formats, it is only offered in 7v7, 9v9, and 11v11. That's to say, 4v4 will not have a championship. 4v4 will only have rec or challenge. Right. It's a move we decided to make after talking to a lot of coaches, a lot of parents in the environment that was being created in the 4v4 area or in the 4v4 divisions. So again, championship, your traditional league structure, regular season playoffs, playoff bracket all the way to a winner, and only available in 7v7, 9v9, and 11v11. Okay, so from there, we make our jump really into our more competitive divisions or our most competitive divisions, which is N1 and Premier. Now, this is the highest competitive division within EPPL. It's designed for very competitive teams seeking to either advance into N1, right, or stay in N1 if you're an 11v11 team. So it is our highest level of competition. It has our individual awards. It has regular season and playoffs. N1 feeds into the national playoffs, which are called the ECNL Conference League playoffs, and Premier is a pathway into N1 for 9v9 teams. Okay, so this is obviously available in our N1 league as well as in the EPPL. Okay, now 9v9 plays Premier and 11v11 plays National 1. Okay, so essentially, N1 came in and kind of replaced our Premier divisions for 11v11, but Premier is still kind of that pathway into N1 for 9v9 teams. So if you're a 9v9 team and you want to eventually play N1, the easiest pathway is to be competing in 9v9 Premier. Okay, now, like I said before in our structure, 9v9 Premier falls into the EPPL, which is a city league. You can't play 9v9 Premier only on the east side or 9v9 Premier only on the west side. It's all funnels into the EPPL. Okay. So some important information for the Premier Division, as this is geared specifically towards EPPL. So Premier Division and N1 is not only for competitive teams, but it's also for dedicated and organized teams, right? So we want to make sure you have your rosters in order, you have your IDs in order, your player registrations in order, everything in order, your uniforms, your numbers. And uniforms and number rules for Premier and for N1 are enforced week 1, okay? Just another note, we touched on it previously, but Premier Division teams, so those 99 teams that play Premier are on the pathway to enter into the National 1 once they go to U13. Okay, so that is kind of like your pathway. So one of the biggest things that we've really focused on creating in the EPPL is a promotion relegation system. Now, in the past, it hasn't been incredibly objective, right? But essentially what we're going to do now with our new and improved competitive divisions is create more of an objective promotion relegation, where the top team or the top 2 teams of rec will be moving up to challenge, in challenge to championship, and then championship has the opportunity to go into N1, as well as moving down, right? So if you're in the bottom teams of challenge, you will be moved down to rec, and all the way up and down this pyramid. So that's just something important to keep in mind. Season to season, just knowing that if you did well, you will be moved up. If you didn't do so good, you may be moved down. Again, just something to keep in mind as a coach now in the El Paso Premier League. All right, so that's pretty much our structure, right? It's kind of the buildup of what we are. So as a coach, right, you now know, okay, I'm going to play in this league, right? EPPL East West, the EPPL N1, and I'm going to play this division, right? Rec, Challenge, Championship, Premier, N1. Okay, so once we decide that, that's your job as a coach, right? You decide where you want to play, you decide what you want to do, what division, and then you register your team, right? You register your team, and then now we kind of fall into the roster process, right? This is now kind of where the parents get involved, okay? So our roster process is very, very simple and straightforward. Once you register your team, you send the parents that player registration link, okay? During that player registration, the parents will upload pictures, verify information, upload a birth certificate, do all of the things that get all the information that we need for a player, okay? So once we do that, or during the player registration, players or parents are allowed to select their team. So once they select a team, they're automatically added to your season's roster. Okay. Now, in a perfect world, everyone would select the right team. Everyone would be on the right roster, and all we would have to do is go in, verify, purchase memberships, purchase US Club IDs, and we're good to go, right? But it's never that simple. So if you know that someone's missing, or you go in and you check your roster, and you see that someone's missing or someone's there that shouldn't be, again, it's that registrar email, right? You're going to send us an email and say, hello, my name is Cesar. I am the coach for Cobras, and I wanted to let you know that I'm missing such and such player. Okay. Now that is the registration. That is the rostering process, because then our staff will say, oh, okay, I found them. They were on the wrong team. I added him to your team. He should be good to go. Or they'll say, well, they haven't registered. That's why they're not showing up. Or, that's the registration process. Okay. So I want to just jump in here for a second and kind of show you guys what this looks like, in Godsport, right, on that end. Okay. Now, before I jump in, I just want to show you something real quick, which is the numbers, just because this is something that we can look into as soon as I jump in there. But numbers, jersey numbers, right, are expected for Premier, Championship, and Challenge divisions. Okay. Now, Premier is week 1. and always, and championship and challenge, there is a stated date on the season calendar for your current season that you need to look into and make sure that you have everything ready to go by that date. But we'll touch on those two points first. Let me jump in here and show you guys what I'm talking about. So when you log into your Godsport, right? You'll look something like this. This is your profile, okay? And we'll come back and visit this right now when we talk about coach requirements. Right now, what we're talking about is the rostering process. So you can always come in here, click on team management, and you'll see all of your teams, right? There'll be all the teams that you're associated with. So you'll be able to click a team here and it'll pop up this image, right? Now, let me log into an actual team. That way we can check on a real team, okay? But again, this is your profile. You go to team management, you click on a team, you'll get your team's information. And then let me just log in here real quick to another team or a real team, basically, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right, so again, right? Similar process. This is what you would be seeing. So this is a team that's registered for this current season that we're working on, right? Once I go to team management, I click on the team name and I'm able to check on a few things. The main thing that I want to check on is if I go to rosters, right? There's a few things here. You have your team information. You can change some information around if you need to. You have your team members. Now your team members is basically any player who was ever associated with your team. So they could have been playing with you 5 years ago. They will show up here. Okay. So this one means nothing. Okay. This is sometimes causes some confusion, but team members means nothing. Okay. So the most important thing that we're going to be looking into is rosters. Okay. So once you click into rosters, you'll be able to select an event. Okay. Now we have here our 2026 EPPL fall season. Now, you might notice that there's also another event, right, called the EPPL Premier League registration pass cards and rosters. Now, without getting into the nitty gritty of it, that is an event for us. That's an event for our registration team. That's where we purchase IDs for you guys. That's where we do all that other stuff. But it's directly linked to this one. This is the one that I want you guys to be checking. Okay, so 2026 EPPL fall season, and I hit search. Okay, here I'm going to be able to see which players appear on my roster. Okay, now these players I can see have already registered, right? They're a part of they already registered and they selected my team. Okay, so let's say here I know that Cesar Jr. has already registered, but he's not showing up here, right? That's where I would email that registration email or that registrar email and say, hey, I'm missing a player, right? Just making sure that everyone is here. Okay. Now, once everyone is here, our team, our registration staff goes in, verifies that they have everything done, verifies that they have their birth certificate. That birth certificate gets checked by US Club Soccer, and then we purchase their memberships, right? So as you can see, this team has pending approval status, right? So this player is not ready to go. Now, we can always check approval status by clicking on this green button here. All right. And we'll see that there is some sort of issue. Okay. Now, there's different kinds of issues, and sometimes as a coach on the coach side, you won't be able to see exactly what it is, but you can see that these players, there is some issue here. No worries. You can always, again, send us an email and say, hey, I tried checking my approval status. It showed that there were some issues. Just want to make sure I'm okay. I'm good to go. Right. But essentially, that is the rostering process. You can come in here and check and see, okay, am I missing anyone? Is everyone here, right? And we're good to go. All right. So once you have everyone here and they all have their green check marks, right? That means that they're all ready to go and officially registered. However, this isn't your roster, right? Back in the day when we would do everything on, everything would be printed out and everything, you would get an actual roster. This is not what that looked like, right? So essentially, that roster is what you need to check in with the referees, right? But oh, sorry, my mistake. One more thing. So here we're in our current season roster, right? And I mentioned the numbers because it's always a good opportunity to talk about this. And as you can see, we can check on our players, but we can also add our jersey numbers, right? So it's right here, jersey. You can see it right here. Now, in this case, all these players have a number, right? So then this coach is going to show up on Saturday and say, hey, all my players have numbers. Why aren't they showing up on the roster? Well, as you can see, they put it under ID number. Okay, this isn't in the correct area. So you need to put it over here for save, right? Now you can see that he has his jersey number and it says 4. Okay, this will show up in the roster. Okay, so again, now we have all of our kids here. We have our jersey numbers and they all have that green check mark. It should mean I'm good to go, right? Last check, and the most important thing, the thing you will need to show the referees is your roster PDF. Okay, now it can be your roster PDF or it can be your ID cards. I always like the roster PDF because it's clean and it's one document and you don't have to mess with it, right? So we're in our event roster. We were in players. Now we can see there's a documents and IDs tab. Okay, we click on the documents and IDs tab and you can see that there's a button here that says roster PDF. Once I click on this roster, okay, now this one's empty, right? Because obviously we saw that the kids weren't approved. There was an issue there, but eventually all the kids will show up here. Now, this is the end all be all. This document is your official roster for the season. This is the one that you will need to show referees in order to check in before games. So if you're missing anyone here, they will not be allowed to play. Okay, you need to make sure all of your players are on this one, right? If you're missing anyone here, you send us an email and you say, hey, I'm missing such a so and so, and then we'll be able to walk you through it from there. Okay, but again, your roster PDF, and you will hear us say it throughout the course of the season. All of our emails will say, double check your roster PDF, double check your roster PDF, because this is the most important document. This is your official roster for the season. Okay, so always double check, always make sure you have all your players. They all have their pictures and they all have their jersey numbers. All right. All right. Again, that is the roster process. It's very simple, right? You send out that link and you expect everyone to fill out that registration, to pay for their league registration, to add all their information, to choose a good picture. And then that way they'll be ready to go for game day, right? Now, an important thing to note that we do freeze rosters every Thursday at 6 p.m. Okay, so if you're getting ready for your game on Saturday, just know that Thursday at 6 p.m. we do freeze rosters. Okay, so if you have a parent that calls you on Friday and they say, hey, I just registered the kid, your response is going to be like, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. Unfortunately, they won't be able to play tomorrow because rosters freeze on Thursday at 6. Okay, there will be no game day changes, right? So what does that mean? It means you can't email us Saturday morning and say, hey, this kid just registered. Can you add him for my game? The answer will be no. Okay, we'll talk about this a little bit more in the coach requirements, but all coaches must be added to the league roster. Okay, and we'll talk about it a little bit. We'll go back into our God Sports system and I'll show you how to do this. But the coaches have to be added to the league roster, and there's a maximum of 3 coaches per team. So 1 coach, 2 assistants, and then a manager, which is what we don't specify here, but 1 coach, 2 assistants, and a manager. Okay. Finally, we do like to always remind people, we don't do business on the fields, right? What do we mean by that? We mean that if you, as a coach or a manager, or if the parent didn't do things on time, don't expect to come to the fields and have us fix it there, okay? Now, if you did do things right, because it does happen, if you did things the right way and you have the emails to prove it, then we will try to help you there, right? But no business on the fields essentially means if you didn't do it, if you didn't do your job on time, right? Or if you didn't do it on time, don't expect us to change things on the field, okay? So just a little bit of an example, right? And a reminder that it is your responsibility, okay, as a coach, as a manager, to let us know whenever there's a roster change that needs to happen, okay? So we manage the rosters for the entire league, right? So little changes, little things, we don't get alerted to them. So if you know a new player just registered for your team, all you have to do is send us an email to registrar saying, hey, we just registered a new player. Can we please make sure he's approved and ready to go for Saturday? That's all we need. Okay. Or, hey, I need this player to be, removed or moved or anything. But the first step to any change or update to your roster for the season is emailing the registrar department, and then we'll take it from there. But you have to let us know. It is your responsibility to initiate that process. Okay. So again, we just talked about this, right? How to access that roster PDF. The roster PDF is the most important document. It is your official roster for the season. You need to know how to access it and how to check it, right? And as we talked about right now, this is your roster PDF. This is an example of your player IDs, right? It's not that team members tab. It's not the rosters tab. It is the official document. These are the documents that you can show to check in with the referee. All right. So finally, in the last kind of step in the scheduling process is our club pass, right? So club pass is essentially a pass that a player can pay for to play with multiple teams within the same club. Okay. In essence, or the perfect example is I have a U13 player who is very, very good, and I want him or her to get some extra minutes playing for my U14 team, right? It's within the same club. I can have the parents pay for a club pass, and they'll be allowed to play for that team as well. Okay. Now, club pass does have certain rules, certain restrictions, right? And you can find those on the website as well. But again, the first thing is they have to be part of the same club, okay? Which can, and what is a club is broken down here as well. They have to pay the fee, which is broken down there as well. And ultimately, there are some important rules and limitations. And I'll go through these because these are kind of important. So a player can only play for another team within their own club. What does that mean? It means that if I play for FC Dallas, I can't club pass to Locomotive, right? It's within my own club. Okay. Now that comes straight from US Club Soccer. That is not an internal policy. That is straight from US Club Soccer. It has to be within your own club. A player may play for any team within their own club as long as they meet requirements. In other words, they can play in their age group or up, but never down. Okay. Um, uh, Moreover, a player cannot play in two teams within the same age group, regardless of club pass. What do we mean? We mean if you have a team that's playing U12 Premier, they can't they can't club pass to a U12 championship team, right? It can't be within the same age group. Okay, it always has to be 1 year up, right, or 2 or 3, whatever it is, but it can't be in the same one. Okay. An important exception there is girls may play in their all girls division. Okay, so let's say I have an all girls U13 team, but I want 2 of those girls to come play with the boys U13. That is allowed. Okay, as long as they're playing for an all girls division first. So again, kind of touching base on that, a player may only play in their age group as their primary and then CP to an older age group. The only exception there is U8 and U10. So U8 and U10 are the only age groups where we offer multiple formats. So in those age groups, you can play U8 4v4 and then club pass up to U8 77. Same for U10. U10 77, you can club pass up to U10 99. And all that's going to be required is fulfilling the other rules, right? Which the most important one is you can only club pass to a division that is one competitive division above your primary team's competitive division. What does that mean in essence, right? It means if you're rec, you can only club pass to challenge, right? If you're challenge, you can only club pass to championship. If you're championship, you can only club pass to premier and one, right? And then working your way down as well, right? You can, if you're premier, you can club pass up to an older championship. If you're championship, you can club pass to an older challenge. If you're challenge, you can club pass to an older rec. But essentially, you can't skip a division, right? You can't be rec and then club passing in premier, right? Just doesn't make sense, right? And it's not allowed. So again, that's kind of like the most important thing when deciding where and when we can club pass players. It's age and competitive division. Okay. Now, one of the biggest things that we always like to point out at the with Club Pass is that while it's super exciting and it's a great opportunity to have kids play multiple games, we can never guarantee that the schedule will accommodate Club Pass players. Okay, so if you as a coach make a decision to move players around, just know that the schedule will not always accommodate that, right? And moving towards the end of the season, specifically, once it gets a little tighter to move games around, you might find yourself playing without those club pass players because they're playing at their primary team. Okay, so just keep that in mind whenever you're planning out your club passes. Okay, so that's kind of like the registration process. Okay, moving forward, we have our scheduling process. Okay, so breaking it down, we've registered our team, right? Because we selected our league, we selected our competitive division. Now we've registered all of our players. Okay, now they're all in there. I double checked. I checked my roster PDF. I made sure they're in there. Well, now I need to make sure my schedule it looks good, right? Or my schedule fits my needs, right? So the schedule process is pretty straightforward as well. Once we finalize divisions, we will post schedules for week 1 and 2, usually together, sometimes only week 1, and then we work on week 2. But that's really like our goal at the start of the season. And then once we're all settled in, we kind of lock ourselves in a room and work out on the rest of the season and try to have that out for you as soon as possible so you can plan out your entire season. Schedules are subject to change though, right? So schedules do change, so it's always important that that we work together and that we're all understanding and that we're frequently checking schedules just in case there's any changes. Okay. Right now, as we prepare to start your current season, we do send out a scheduled blackout date form. Okay. What is this form? This form is for you to tell us, hey, on these certain dates, don't schedule me to play, right? I have a tournament, I'm out of town, I have this, I have that. So it's your opportunity to tell us, hey, these are the dates where I just cannot play, right? Now, it's important to check the important dates and calendar for your current season so you can see when the deadline to submit your blackout dates is. Okay, that and that link can be found on the coaches resources page, and we'll dive in there for a minute after this as well. Okay, once we close that blackout request date and we build out a roster, every team is allowed 2 schedule change requests. Okay, so once we publish a roster and every team has schedule change requests, there are some parameters around when you can make a schedule change request. And they're honestly pretty straightforward, and we have them broken down here. So any requests made 72 hours or more prior to your game time, we will make that change. Okay. Anything requested within 72 hours and 48 hours of your game time, we will try to do our best to make the change, right? Because it's so close to game time. And if we can, the team that requested must pay the referee fee for rescheduling the game because those referee fees are already locked in. And if we can't, well, then the change can't be made, and it'll be your decision if you can show up or not, or lose the game via forfeit, right? Essentially. Anything within 48 hours of game time, we will not be making that change, and it is up to you if you can show up or not for that game. All right. So again, a little graphic for you guys to kind of see. Anything more than 72 hours, change will be made. Within 72 and 48, change will be attempted. And then within 48, change will not be made. Okay. So again, part of the scheduling process is forfeits. So the biggest thing with forfeits is if you know you will not be making a game, notify us, right? Send it to the email, send it to one of those on-site field manager phone numbers, right? If you're playing on the east side and you know you're not going to show up, go ahead and send a text to that phone number and say, hey, my name is such and such, my game is this, and I won't be able to make it. Why? Because we want to avoid no-call, no-shows as much as possible. Okay, because everyone knows that frustrating feeling of showing up to a game and having the other team not show up. Super frustrating for everyone involved. Okay, so if you know you're not going to show up, send us that message. Okay. Again, no call, no shows. If you do fail to let us know and you just don't show up to a game without letting anyone know, you will automatically lose that game via forfeit and will incur a no call, no show fee, which is the referee fee plus a $30 fine. Now, that team will not be allowed to play until the fine is paid. Okay. If forfeiting is an issue for your team or your club, especially without notifying, we might find ourselves in a position to remove that team or that club from the EPPL. Okay. All right. So finally, finals weekends, playoffs and finals. Okay. So playoffs and finals, once we post the entire schedule, we'll send out an email saying, hey, the full schedule is live. That includes playoffs and finals. Okay. So finals weekend is finals weekend. What do we mean? It means that we cannot move finals weekend. That is when the league ends. We cannot extend the games more, right? So make sure your team is available for finals weekend because we can't move it from there. Once posted, playoffs will not be rescheduled, okay, for anyone. So if you will be traveling during playoffs, again, not finals, we can't move finals, but during playoffs, and you let us know before the blackout deadline, again, from that blackout form we talked about, we will try our best to accommodate and avoid forfeits during playoffs, but no promises can be made, okay? playoff weekend and finals weekend are already on that important dates and schedule page, so you can see when those are for your current season, right? So again, it's all about communication, but in the end, those are the weekends, and we fully expect all the teams to participate. All right, perfect. So we chose our league, we chose our division, we registered our players, and we requested what we needed to request, and we understand the schedule process. Okay, so now finally, and arguably most importantly, is your coach requirements. So every adult that is going to participate within youth sports under US Club Soccer is required to have a coach ID. That includes us as administrative staff. It includes you as coaches. It includes your managers, right? So it is very, very important for all of our coaches, managers, and staff to have their US Club coach ID or staff ID. Okay, so again, right, per US Club policy, all adults need to have it. The most important thing is you will need your physical coach ID card present and visible at all games if you want to coach on the sidelines. Okay, what does that mean? It means you will receive your coach ID on a lanyard, and you must have it hanging around your neck during every single EPPL game at all times. Okay, if there is not, if a coach is not present with an ID and on the official roster, meaning that if my coach ID, I have it on my neck and it says Cesar Sosa, and I'm on the official roster and it says Cesar Sosa, I'm good to go. Okay, if I don't have my ID and I'm not on the roster, right, and there's no other coach with their ID or on the roster, the game will be lost via forfeit. Okay, that coach with that ID must be present at all times, right? So we can kind of jump into how to add the coaches, right? This is a big topic. So we'll go into how to add coaches, and then also how to access your requirements. Now that's going to require me to kind of jump into some of these other tabs, so bear with me. But first things first, let's talk about how to add a coach, right? Or how to add yourself as a coach, right? So if we go back to our team window, right, that we were working on when we were looking at our roster PDF and everything, you'll notice again that there's these tabs here, right? And it says players, coaches, and managers. Okay. Now, what we need to do is make sure we go in here and click coaches, right? Now, this team already has some coaches here, right? But here's where you can add your coaches. Now, there is no add coach button here, but there should be a button there that says add a coach. Let's see. So if you ever struggle with adding a coach to your regular season, just go ahead and go into that registration and pass cards event, hit search, and let's see. So if we go to coaches, all right, there we go. So we'll be able to add our coaches here, right? And all you need to do is add first name, last name, email, okay? If they already have a coach account, they will be able to, they'll show up there and you'll be able to add them, okay? If they do not, we'll follow the next step here. So again, just so everyone remembers, right? I'm gonna hop in over here real quick. You log into your Got Sport account, you click team management, right? You click on your team name and it pops up this window, okay? And then I'm gonna log into an actual team, right? It's this window, right? It's essentially what I clicked on, it's this window. And then we go ahead and we click rosters, and we can select the fall season, or for coaches only, right? We can always just come in here. If this one doesn't work, we can come into the one that says registration, pass cards, and rosters. Again, for coaches only, hit search, coaches tab, and add our coaches here, right? First name, last name, email. Now, that's assuming that they do have a coach ID, or a coach ID, I'm so sorry. If they do have a Got Sport login, right? If they do not, and you're the head coach here and you want to add an assistant, or you're a club manager and you want to add a coach, the easiest way to go about it is to have them create a US Club account, Got Sport account. And then once they create it, you'll be able to add them here using their email. Okay. Now that is a perfect segue into our coach requirements. So if we come back to our coaches page, right, on the EPPL website, we'll see that there's a section here called requirements. If I go ahead and click that, it'll bring us down to our requirements. It'll give us an overview of the of what it is, right? And then it'll give us a step. So step 1 of your coach requirements is to purchase your US Club Coach membership. Okay, super simple to do. You just do it here. Click on this link, right? And you'll be able to sign up for the coach staff membership. Okay. Now, for me, it logs me in automatically. You know, it has my login or whatever. But if you don't have a login, you'll be able to create one, right? So you'll be able to have the coach send them that link, say, hey, coach, create a new account. Let me know when you're done. What's your first name, last name, email, and then go ahead and pay for that registration. Okay. Now, again, once they go through and complete this, that's step 1. Okay. Step 1, everyone has to pay for that US Club staff membership. Okay. Again, once my new coach creates a profile and pays for that, I'm able to add them. I'm able to add them here to my roster by using their first name, last name, and email. Okay. That's how you add your coaches. Now, once we pay for our US Club membership, we have to actually complete the requirements. And now those are pretty straightforward. And if you want to read more about them, you can see them here, right? So we have a background check. We have our Safe Sport training. We have our annual certification and eligibility requirements. Okay. Now, how do we access those? So if we come over again to your profile, right? This is your account when you log into your Godsport account. If you go ahead and click on the dashboard tab, it brings you here to where to your information, right? To your dashboard. So if you scroll down to EPPL or Paso Premier League, you'll see that you have some requirements. Now, at the time of this video, I need to do these requirements. So I'm in the same boat as you guys, right? So basically it's super simple. All you have to do is go in and click through these, right? So you click view and submit. Okay. And you'll be able to do your Safe Sport. Okay. Come back. You'll be able to do your annual certification, view and submit. You'll be able to do your background, view and submit, right? And if you ever need any help with anything, especially in terms of your requirements, there's always this blue support button down here that you can use to fill out support tickets, right? It brings you here. It has some articles. You can also fill out a support ticket and they can help you directly. All right. But essentially that's what it is. So you add your coaches to your rosters and then you have them complete their requirements. So again, complete all these requirements, right? By saying, by completing here, clicking view and submit. And then this last one, member registration payment status, that is your US Club ID. So once you pay for it, we basically have to then take that and then pay US Club Soccer. And then that'll turn green once we do that for you as well. Okay. So you have to, again, add your coaches to the roster, make sure you pay for that for the US Club membership, and then this will turn green and you'll have that. Everything else, you can do it right here. And that's really it for coach requirements. That's basically the gist of it. So yeah, if you need any help with coach requirements at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's info or it's registrar. We'll be happy to help you and walk you through it. But again, just with basically what we talked about here, we talked about creating or adding new coaches by telling them to create an account using that payment or the US Club registration link, adding them to our rosters, right? Whether it's to that pass cards and registrations event or to the fall season. And then completing your requirements, which is it's just logging into your Godsport profile and completing the requirements that way. Okay, so again, kind of the breakdown, right? We have our league, we have our competitive level, competitive division, we have our players, we have our schedule, and we have our coach requirements. Well, now it's game day, right? Now we're actually there, we're actually ready to play. So let's break down a little bit of the importance there. So obviously, before game day, make sure you check your roster PDF. Again, that famous word, right? Roster PDF. Make sure all of your players are on there. They have a good picture and they have their numbers, right? If they're on there, they're good to go. Be on time, right? There's a 10-minute courtesy period, but after that, if you're not on time, the game will be forfeited. Now, every team is expected to have a game ball, right? Now, this is a rule that I feel like we've maybe had to use a handful of times, but every team needs to have a game ball. And if you don't have a game ball, there is no courtesy period. Um, uh, Sorry, if you don't have a game ball, a penalty kick will be awarded to the opposing team at the beginning of the game, right? So make sure you have your game ball ready to go. And again, there is no courtesy period for that. So you have to be ready to go at game time. So kind of circling back to that roster PDF, make sure to take your pictures. A question I always like to tell coaches is ask yourself, right? If this picture was on the other team, would I be okay with it? Would I accept it? If the answer is no, then have the parent update that picture. Okay? Again, your coach ID. You should have your coach ID hanging around your neck with having it be easily identifiable, or having it be easy to identify you as a coach. Okay. So again, as a responsible adult on the fields, you've taken your courses, you've passed your background check, you are a responsible adult out on the fields. People should be able to know who you are, wear your coach ID. Okay. Once again, if there is not a coach present with an ID and on the official roster, the game will be lost via forfeit. Okay, super, super important to make sure we get all that stuff done before kickoff, before the first week, before your game. All right, so player check-in, right? So for player check-in, again, you can show that roster PDF on your phone, on your iPad, on your digital device, right, to the referee. If you are a little old school and prefer having your IDs printed out, we can also do that. Just go ahead and send us over an email to the registrar, and we can have those printed out, laminated, and turned over to you, okay? But in essence, it's your physical or virtual ID cards or your roster PDF, and that's what you need to have for every single game, okay? Our player check-in process is very simple. Both teams meet at half field, and the referee, along with the opposing head coach, check in the team, okay? And then vice versa. This way, we avoid any issues of player identification, any biases, anything like that. You are allowed to check in the other team. That way, there's no confusion, there's no mistakes, and we can just focus on playing the game after that. Okay. Now, in the case if there is an issue, right, where a player doesn't have the right picture, or you have any questions, or just anything like that, the referee has final say in that moment as to whether the player can play or not. Okay. Now, one of our field managers can be called over. However, the game must start as scheduled. Okay. We will not delay a game start time because of a roster issue. Okay. So, in other words, if my player isn't showing up on the roster and the referee says he cannot play because he's not on the roster, we're not going to delay the game. Okay. That player can sit out. You can call a field marshal. And if there was a mistake, we can fix it, right? But he will not be allowed to play until a field marshal comes, and the game must start. Okay. Um, Super, super important. If a coach does not want to start the match due to a roster or player issue, the match will be subject to forfeit. What do we mean? In the unlikely or unfortunate circumstance that a coach says, well, I'm not going to play if you don't let him play, right? Well, then unfortunately, if the coach takes that stance and a field marshal, or I'm sorry, a field manager can't make it quick enough, the referee is within his or her jurisdiction to call the match a forfeit, taking into consideration the time constraints of the schedule. Okay, so again, my recommendation: have the player sit out, the player in question sit out, start the game. One of our field marshals will be there as soon as possible, and then they can help you either fix it or explain why they cannot play. Okay, so again, at the end of the day, if a player is not on that roster, they won't be allowed to play, and it's the referee's decision. The game must start as scheduled, and you can call a field manager to come help afterwards. All right, so uniforms and numbers, okay? So all uniforms and numbers rules will be enforced on the stated date for your particular season. Again, check on that date on the website. It's right there on the important dates and calendars for whatever your current season is, okay? Premier divisions are always enforced week 1, okay? But let's dive into a little bit of what it means in terms of first uniforms and then numbers, okay? So uniform rules are enforced across the board from rec all the way up to N1, right? All players must have the same uniform. in cases where a player does not have the uniform yet, let's say it's a new player or they lost their uniform, anything like that, they are expected or they must use a solid colored jersey that matches the rest of the team. Okay. If the player only has one jersey but forgot their other one, right? Common mistake. They may wear a penny over their jersey as long as their number matches. Okay, so two things there. If my whole team is wearing blue, right? Our jersey is blue, and I have a new player shows up in a yellow T-shirt, that player will not be allowed to play. Okay, right? Because that is not a uniform. They need to. If it was a blue T-shirt, they would be allowed to play, right? Because we're matching. But a yellow T-shirt is not allowed. Okay, so that's point number one. Point number two is, let's just say my whole team shows up with our blue jersey, but the other team is wearing blue, and now we have to change, right? So now everyone changed, but I forgot my jersey, right? I was ready to go. This jersey is good to go. It has my number. It matches. I'm verified with my player ID card. I'm ready to go. I just simply forgot my other jersey. We can throw a penny that doesn't match the other team on top of my jersey, as long as I can still see the number and the referee can easily identify me. Okay, so pretty straightforward. You know, to a certain extent, kind of common sense, right? That's the uniforms, and that's across the board. We also do have jersey number rules. Okay, now every player must have a jersey number, and that number must match the official game report. Okay, that is for Premier, Championship, and Challenge. Okay, recreational divisions, we do not enforce number rules. We do enforce uniform rules, but not number rules. Okay, but all the other divisions, every single player must have a jersey number, and that jersey number must match the official game report. In other words, your roster PDF if it says Cesar number 10, I'm Cesar, I better have a permanent number 10 on my back. Okay? If the number must be permanent, okay? If your goalkeeper, if a player is a goalkeeper, your roster PDF, you can always just put GK for goalkeeper, and that won't be an issue. But also another thing, if a player has different numbers on the jersey, on different jerseys, let's say you just got a new uniform, but you're still using the old one, you can always input up to 2 numbers only on your match card. So for example, a 10 and a 13, right? Just in case you just would cover your tracks. At the end of the day, it's about player identification, right? So any player that does not comply with these rules will not be allowed to play. So if my jersey number does not match the game report or the roster PDF, I will not be allowed to play. All right. So again, one of the last things is if a coach is told a player cannot play, so let's just say I'm the coach and the referee says, hey, he can't play, he doesn't have a number or his number doesn't match, and I decide to play them anyway, the match will be subject to forfeit. Okay, now subject to forfeit, right? So match number issues don't automatically mean it's a forfeit, right? It just means the referee will say, hey, I told him he couldn't play, he played him anyways, so it'll be subject to forfeit. All right, so again, just to reiterate, so everyone is expected to comply with uniform rules, right? Everyone has to have the same uniform. If not, you can have someone with the same color, okay? Jersey numbers are for Premier, Championship, and Challenge. Premier is week 1. Championship and Challenge, you need to check the calendar for your current season so you can see when we're going to start enforcing the numbers, okay? Numbers must be permanent, and they must match the game report, all right? So again, there at the bottom just goes into rec a little bit, but essentially rec, uniforms, no numbers. All right, we do have this little uniform and jersey guide as a little bit of a help for you all. So if your team uniform is red, right? Can you wear a red practice jersey, solid colored red? Yes. Can you wear just a solid colored red jersey or red t-shirt? Yes. Can you just wear your away t-shirt by itself? No, right? Can you wear your away jersey with a penny on top of it? Yes. Can you wear any other kind of color or t-shirt or design that doesn't match the rest of the team? No. Okay, that's in terms of your uniform. In terms of the jersey number, we have here that the game report says Cesar Sosa number 13. Okay, so if my jersey number is permanent and it matches the game report, can I play? Yes. If my jersey number is taped on or anything not permanent, can I play? No. If I don't have a number on my back, can I play? No. If I have the wrong number on my back, can I play? No. All right. So it's super important to make sure that you check your roster PDF and make sure that you're updating numbers to match whatever your players are wearing on their jerseys. Okay, and again, one more time, Premier is first week, Championship and Challenge is delayed, so make sure you check your current season calendar to double check what date that's going to be for your season. All right, so now we're ready to go. We kind of took care of all the player checking. We took care of our uniforms, our numbers, everything's ready to go. Now we need to make sure we're sitting in the right spots. Okay, so there will be spectator seating versus team seating. So in the EPPL, home team will always set up in the north or the west side of the field, and home and away teams will set up on opposite sides. So home and away will always be on the map, on the official league map. So you can always just kind of refer to that. But in essence, this is the orientation, right? So home will be on one side, away will be on the other. Teams will be on one half of the field, spectators will be on the other. On the other way, it's the other way around, teams and spectators, okay? So it's kind of crossed, all right? Now, this again is on the parents resources page. So if you send them that link, they'll be able to see this and they'll know where to set up. So finally, right? Or not finally, but on next, we do have kind of like during gameplay, right? This is all part of the game day experience. Coach behavior and consequences, right? So as a coach, you're going to be held to the highest standards. Why? Because we feel that your attitude and your actions impact the environment of the game, right? So coaches, if you are being disrespectful, rowdy, or showing poor sportsmanship, the referee will show you a yellow card along with a verbal warning. If the behavior continues, the coach will be shown a red card and asked to leave the field. If the coach does not leave, the game will be forfeited by the offending team regardless of score or match type, right? So even if it's playoffs or finals. If the coach leaves, but we have an assistant coach that's carded, right, and on the roster, the game can continue. But if there's no other coach present with a valid ID, the game will be lost via forfeit. All right, so that's what we expect from you as coaches. Moreover, we also expect you as coaches to be in charge or in control of your spectator groups, okay? So we fully expect spectators to show good sportsmanship, to promote fair play, to be supportive, to be respectful. If they're not doing that, right, if they're being disrespectful, rowdy, or showing poor sportsmanship, the following will apply. The referee will come and verbally warn you as the head coach to control your spectators. If behavior continues, you will be shown a yellow card. If behavior continues after that, the head coach will be shown a second yellow card, subsequent red, and will be sent off. Game will continue only if the coach leaves and the spectators can prove their behavior. Okay, so if those two things don't happen, the game will be stopped and forfeited by the offending team, right? So if there is no other coach present with a valid ID, the game will be lost via forfeit. So if you get ejected and you don't have, if you get ejected because of your parents and you don't have an assistant there to take control of the game, then the game will be lost via forfeit. All right. So discipline, safeguarding, and compliance. Now, this is a really important topic and one that we created its own separate page for in our website, and I'd love to kind of dive into that for a second, because it kind of just dives into all aspects of discipline, safeguarding, and compliance. Okay, so if we come back to our EPPL website and we go to resources and discipline, safeguarding, and compliance. All right, so we have kind of our league rules and our governing documents. We have kind of an intro paragraph there, but we have our rules and the governing documents that we use to make our decisions, which is the U.S. Club Discipline Matrix, USSF Severity of Misconduct, and the Point Reduction Matrix, right? So sort of sportsmanship and respect, what we expect, right? Discipline decision-making process. This is the process that we will use in in order to make decisions on any incident, right? We also have an appeal process. Feel free to read through this. Once that decision is made, this is the appeal process. We also have kind of a deep dive into cheating and competition integrity. We have a deep dive into violent conduct and major physical altercations, right? Separated by levels, and then whether or not there's spectator involvement, and then a graphic that kind of just a flow chart that shows how we will be making decisions, and then a deep dive into pitch invasions, red cards, and violence against match officials. Okay, so super important page for you, your managers, and even your parents to read through. That way you know how we will be making decisions when it comes to discipline, safeguarding, and compliance. All right. So again, cheating, right? This is one of our biggest movements, and something that we've made huge progress in our time at the El Paso Premier League. But it's one of our biggest things, and it's the term that we use is stomp out cheating, right? And it's that we will be extremely firm in terms of the consequences for cheating. So there will be no consequences for cheating in this league. A team caught cheating will suffer the following consequences. So on the first offense, the team will be removed from the season, point blank, and an email will be sent out to everyone, notifying the to the whole league as a community, notifying them of the team removal. And in a second offense, the entire club, if they belong to a club, will be removed from the season and no refunds will be given. After that, we'll have a readmission kind of policy in terms of whether we accept that club again or not. But if we do, and anything were to happen after all that, then that club or team will be completely banned from our competition. You know, at the end of the day, we really want to make sure we rid our environment, rid our community of cheating, just because it really has no place in youth sports. So just kind of getting into it a little bit in terms of like the protests and cheating. So player protests must be handled at the site of play and must occur before the game, at halftime, or right after the game before signing the game report. Why do we say this? Because it is much easier to catch someone that wasn't supposed to be there while they're still there. Okay. What does that mean? It means that at halftime, if I saw a player get there a little late, or in the second half, someone got there, looks a little fishy, I have to go tell the referee, like, hey, I want to report that player, or I want us to go check in that player because I don't think that they should be here. Right? It has to be done on spot because it'll be easier to catch any issues or any instances of cheating on the spot rather than afterwards kind of stopping one of us on the parking lot or sending an email saying like, hey, something suspicious happened. Well, it's harder or very hard to follow through with that once everyone's left, right? So super important. If you have an issue, a player protest because you think a player shouldn't be there, approach the referee, call a field manager during the game, have it taken care of on the side of play. Okay. Again, if you have any reason to believe a player shouldn't be there, go to the referee, ask to check them in again, or call a field marshal. Okay. Now, if there's a formal age protest, because you know for a fact that a player is older or anything like that, that requires a little bit more documentation. That can be handled via email through a formal age protest. All right. So if you know for a fact or you have any doubts that a player is of a certain age, send us an email. We'll start that process right away. So all in all, in closing, right, it's always important to remind you guys to check deadlines, right? So check roster freeze deadlines, check player registration deadlines, check the schedule blackout deadlines. That's all on the important dates and calendar, right? Get your coach ID and your requirement done ASAP, right? Always control your parents and your spectators. Remember that there's no business on the fields. And ultimately, remember that we're here for good sportsmanship, fair play, and most importantly, to let the kids play, right? So that is our new coach orientation. Thank you for those of you that stayed all the way till the end. Thank you so much. I know that was a lot of information, but we are very, very excited for you to be a part of our community, part of our growing organization. And I can't wait to see you all out on the fields. So thank you, everyone, again, once more. And yeah, we'll see you soon.